Curse of the Broken Throne. For over 4 centuries, the Ezigbi family ruled the land of Umoloko. It was a kingdom surrounded by hills and river spirits, guarded by powerful deities and ancestral pacts. Every son born into the Ezigbi bloodline was destined for the throne, and none had ever failed until the time of Obi Ezigbi, the last son of the sacred lineage. From the days of King Odioma the Great to Obi's father, Egui Uduka, the royal blood had been pure, untainted, and their rule unquestioned. But their rule came with a mysterious law passed down from the gods, one that had never been broken. If the wife of the king sleeps with another man, the king shall turn into a goat and roam the marketplace for 8 days. On the 9th day, he shall return to human form, but shall lose the throne, and kingship shall depart from his bloodline forever. This law was carved into the sacred stones beside the Ojoku shrine, and every Ezigbi king knew it. Obi Ezigbi, the young king with a heavy crown. When Obi ascended the throne, he was just 28. He was handsome, soft-spoken, and deeply respectful of tradition. His people loved him, but his wife, Ador, did not. Ador had married Obi not out of love but out of ambition. She was the daughter of a wealthy merchant who saw marrying into the royal family as a ladder. But royalty was not always gold and glitter. The palace was strict, ancient laws governed her movements, and Obi was often distant, burdened with the weight of his ancestors. She would cry, complain, and demand his attention. "Obi, am I your wife or your prisoner?" she would ask. "I love you, Ador, but I must carry the people. My duty comes first," Obi would respond, unaware that with every word, she was slipping further from him. The Forbidden Night. One rainy night, while Obi was at the shrine performing sacred rituals for the harvest, Ador crossed the line. She invited Majobuchi, a former lover and childhood friend, into the palace. The guards, paid in silence and palm wine, looked the other way. What happened that night shook the heavens. The next morning, the thunder that rolled over Umoloko was not ordinary. The skies turned red. Birds flew backward. Children cried without reason. And that night, Obi disappeared from his royal chamber. In his place, a white goat with golden eyes stood at the foot of the throne. The goat in the market. For 8 days, the goat wandered the Umoloko market, silent, regal, confused. Everyone knew what it meant. The curse had been activated. The king had been shamed. Some mocked. Some cried. But the elders wept. The goat would appear at the same time each day, never touching food, never blinking. People threw stones at it, some poured libation. Some begged it for mercy. On the 8th night, the goat vanished. By dawn, Obi stood again at the palace gates, naked, broken, but human. However, the throne was already declared vacant. A new king, a new curse. The elders crowned Ofedile, a distant cousin from a different lineage. A celebration erupted. Music, food, and dancing. But the spirits of the land were silent. That very night, a strange wind blew across the village. Children disappeared in their sleep. A stream that had flowed for centuries dried up overnight. A woman birthed a child with no face. Goats began speaking in strange tongues. One by one, the villagers started seeing shadows in their mirrors. The gods were angry. The spirits speak. The chief priest, Ogbinaik, entered a trance and screamed for hours. "You have broken the bloodline. You have cursed the land. The throne belongs to Ezigbi, and now you have mocked the gods." But Ofedile refused to step down. Obi was weak. His wife betrayed him. "I am king now," he declared. From that day, darkness spread like wildfire. Farms yielded blood instead of yam. The sky would rain frogs. And at midnight, drums would beat from the forest, though no one was there. Obi's last plea. Now a shadow of himself, Obi left the palace and lived in the forest. But when the people could no longer endure the torment, they came to him in tears. "Forgive us, Obi. Restore the throne," they begged. But Obi replied, "The gods have spoken. The throne cannot return to Ezigbi unless a sacrifice is made." "What sacrifice?" they asked. With tears, Obi whispered, "The one who broke the vow must die by the hands of the one she betrayed." Obi, the forgotten king. Deep in the forest, Obi heard the call in his dreams. He saw the face of his great-grandfather, King Maduagu, the one who founded the Ezigbi dynasty. The spirit looked down at him, not with anger, but with sorrow. "You tried, my son," the spirit whispered. "But her betrayal broke the seal. And now, only your blood can restore balance." Obi woke up with sweat soaking his cloth. His hands shook. He stumbled toward the shrine, guided by the distant sound of crying trees. As he reached the sacred stones, the spirit appeared, his noni, wreathed in flames and smoke, its eyes glowing like coal. "Obi, son of Ezigbi, the gods are not yet done with you," the spirit said. "Return not as a king, but as a redeemer. For only your sacrifice can bind the curse again." The villagers, torn by horrors, hunger, and hauntings, gathered at the palace gate the next morning. Women wailed. Men knelt. The new king, Ozoemena, had gone missing during the night. All that remained was his crown, burnt and cracked. Suddenly, a sound came from the forest, footsteps. But not rushed or frightened. It was Obi. Not clothed in royal robes, not walking like a king. But his eyes, they were no longer broken. They were burning with something else, purpose. The villagers fell to their knees. Obi walked past them, straight to the shrine, and without speaking, cut his hand with the sacred knife, letting his blood touch the ancestral stone. The wind stopped. The fires died. The earth stilled. And from the heavens, a voice boomed. "Balance has been restored. The land may have been calmed, but the gods were not yet done." As Obi's blood soaked the ancient stone, silence fell across Umuoloko. The air grew warm. The clouds cleared. But in the spiritual realm, where the living and dead collide, another reckoning had begun. In the dead of night, Queen Ador was dragged from her hut by a force she could not see. Her scream pierced the sky, but no one in the village heard it. Her body moved against her will, feet scraping the earth as she was pulled into the sacred grove of Ezelu, a place forbidden even to kings. There, she stood in the heart of the grove, surrounded by spirits of former queens, some kind, others wrathful. And behind them, cloaked in flames, stood Iznoni, the spirit of the land, holding a staff carved with all the names of the Ezigbi kings before Obi. Ador wept, falling to her knees. "I was lonely," she cried. "He didn't touch me anymore. I was still young." But the spirits did not speak. They only watched. And then one stepped forward, the spirit of Queen Ijeoma, wife of King Maduagu, Obi's great-grandfather. She whispered, "You were not punished for loneliness. You broke the covenant that fed the land. You spilled the wine that kept the spirits alive." The wind rose. The trees groaned. And suddenly, the soil beneath Ador opened slightly. A thick root crept out, wrapping around her ankles. "Mercy, please," she begged. But the spirits turned away. And Ador vanished into the ground. Dawn broke over Umuoloko, bathing the land in golden warmth. For the first time in weeks, birds sang. The river that had turned black now sparkled clear again. The dead fish floated away, replaced by schools of life. Villagers walked into the square, some barefoot, some in mourning cloth. But when they saw the palace, they gasped. The once rotting walls had been cleansed. The gates, once locked in anger, swung open as though welcoming them back. And in the center of the compound sat the ancestral staff of Ezigbi, planted firmly in the ground, upright, glowing faintly with energy. A message. The Ezigbi bloodline had been forgiven. But Obi was gone. In the hills beyond the village, past the rivers and forests untouched by man, Obi walked alone. No longer clothed in royalty, no longer bent in shame. He walked as a man reborn, the last of his kind, the bridge between the living and the ancestral. The gods whispered in the wind around him, guiding his steps. He reached the Valley of Spirits, the same place his ancestors had once gone to give their last breath. There, he sat under a large udala tree and smiled. Not for joy, but for peace. His body slowly faded into mist, not death, but transformation. He became spirit. The last son of the Ezigbi dynasty now lives in the wind that sings through Umoloko. When the trees shake, the villagers say, "That is Obi, still watching us."